Right, I'm with,
Andreea Ghisoi.
and you are.
I'm the Romanian Honorary Consul in Jersey.
How long have you been the Honorary Consul?
2018, March.
How did that come about? Did they choose you? Of all the Romanians in the world, why did they choose you?
No, I knocked at the right door. I met Sir Philip Alash, External Affairs Minister at that time, in 2013. And at the time, Romanians couldn't use their driving licenses. It was one of the two Romanians guys already in the States of Jersey Police who raised this issue, and the Romanian embassy at the time knew about the issue in regards of driving licenses. At the time, Romanian community was around 700 people, and now we don't know how many we are, but around 3,000 maybe. So Sir Philip invited the ambassador at that time from London, and this is and after a few years I've been
Did you have to be interviewed?
I had an interview, yes, with Ambassador Mihalake in London, and there were two candidates at the time. The other candidate just gave up. So it was me.
So, how long was the appointment for?
For 4 years. It's a mandate for 4 years.
And it comes up next year sometime?
Next year in March.
In
true.
March?
Yes.
What happens then? Will you reapply, or do you think you will retire, or what? What will happen?
It's hard work. It's hard work, and I had nobody to learn from.
No.
And as an honorary consul, I thought I'm the link between Romania and Jersey. And in the end I was actually the link between Jersey and the Romanian community, which is really wrong. And it's a really big question mark if I will be the honorary consul for the next 4 years. Maybe it's not up to me if I've done a good job for the last 4 years, 3 years, and it's a question for myself as well if I want to continue.
Of course, it's a voluntary job as far as you're concerned. You don't get paid. How do you manage? Because I know we're going to discuss the things you actually do. How do you find the time to do all the things? Never mind the money. How do you find the time to do it all?
You do as much as you can in the end of the day. Lucky enough, it's not a big community. It is hard. It is hard, and sometimes I reply to emails or messages or phone calls at midnight or in the morning before I start work. Saturdays, Sundays, I take time off. For example, for the mobile consulate, I took 2 weeks time off, unpaid.
Right.
And it's hard. I mean, time, it's something that we struggle with, and not just me, all of us as honorary consuls.
Has there been, over the years, if you've been here for 4 years, have you got people in the Romanian people that are here, they support you regularly, or do they come and go?
No, Romanian community always supported me.
Yeah.
As soon as Romanian community found out that I'm honorary / volunteer, and that I dedicate all this time, they supported me.
Yes.
Obviously, there we have people which can't understand the work, and when I ask little donations, I get all the bullying, and they are not aware of how much is affecting me and people around me.
Who else? I mean, the government in Jersey, they give you support insofar as they might let you have a room to meet in, that sort of thing. But do they give you any money, any at all, for expenses? If you bring somebody over from London, do they pay at all?
No, but Constable of St. Helier was helping me, and we had a space in the St. Helier Parish Hall Friday and Saturday.
Right.
And I had volunteers as well, so with me.
But the sort of events you have, like you've had voting here for various elections in Romania, and the European Union, I don't know what the election was to choose candidates for the European Union, that all had to be provided for. You had to have, over how many days did those elections take place? That was over 2 or 3 days, wasn't it?
For European Union elections, we had 1 day only.
Right.
To choose the Romanian president, I believe it was 3 days. And yes, it's the Romanian state is paying as much as they pay a member of the voting section in Romania.
Right.
We didn't get paid more.
Right.
And
so what is the sort of cost? Because you had to have premises. Did you have to hire premises for
yes,
those?
that's right, yes.
Because one of them was at the church. You had a church premises.
For the European elections, yes.
Right. And it was quite complicated because I couldn't quite understand how it was that people could use an electronic... I didn't know how they knew where they had to vote because it was very complex. I suppose the referendum was simple, but it was several questions, wasn't it? It wasn't one question, was it?
For referendum for
but there was a question.
Traditional family, we had 2 questions.
Yes. There was a question attached to the referendum, wasn't there? And I thought, well, how on earth are they going? Anyway, you did it. I mean, this happened presumably all over the world, did it? Romanians all over the world had the same opportunity to vote.
That's right, yes.
That's right. So it can be done. You know, you don't. We have such difficulty with elections here, and there were aspects of it which I thought were brilliant, and it went ahead. And if there was scope for more money, where would it go for these activities? What do you need more money for? Or does it just work out? You just, at the end of the day, people in the Romanians here give a contribution, or whatever happens. Is there somewhere somebody ought to give more money? The Romanians, should they be given more money? The government in Romania, should they give you more money? Or money at all?
The Romanian constitution doesn't allow an honorary consul to be paid.
Right.
And there are honorary consuls in Jersey as well. Except the Portuguese honorary consul who's getting paid, and he have the authority to stamp a passport and an ID card for Portuguese community. Unfortunately, it's not the same case with the others. As far as I know, the Portuguese consul is having this authority just because it's a treaty between Portugal and Jersey.
Well, I couldn't understand when you had the European referendum. All these countries didn't have the opportunity to vote in Jersey. I mean, there was a Polish opportunity. I think the Polish had a referendum opportunity.
Yes. Yeah.
But I couldn't find anywhere, and there's much more Portuguese people here. I couldn't find out where they were voting, and even the Portuguese that I spoke to didn't seem to know if there was an opportunity. Did the French have an opportunity? Did anybody else have the opportunity?
I know the Portuguese and the Polish had the same elections as Romanians. I don't know about the others. I really don't know.
Because obviously they've got to get separate. You couldn't have one big hall where anybody can go, because these are you've got to maintain privacy for the voters, and there's got to be secure. And at the end of the day, the votes have to be sent somewhere to be counted, and all that has to be done securely.
That's right. Boxes
have to be sealed, so it all has to be done properly. So I don't know where you couldn't have one building for everything to take place. In other words, you might have a dozen different countries I mean, there are 27 European countries. You couldn't have 27 elections going on, could we? Is that possible?
No, I think it's about data protection. I don't think we can use the same room for all of us. Will be brilliant.
It would
Will be ideal.
Yes. Well, the other thing is we just had a visit from the paid consul in London. Now this is where I get a bit confused, because you have an ambassador, and it was an ambassador who came over when you were first appointed, I think.
That's right.
And that's a different ambassador now.
That's right.
But the consul who came over, a lady, now she was here to administer things like driving, presumably driving license, I don't know if it's any, but mostly passports and permits, ID permits. And again, people have to have these documents. And were there any other documents, like if people getting divorced or having to, were those sort of things coming up?
Yes, yeah.
They were.
So it was Camelia Oprescu, the general consul, who came over.
Right.
She's not running the show at the consulate. It's
No.
Robin Marin, who's the general consul at the consulate in London. Camelia Oprescu, our consul, came with 3 officers, and it was the first time, beside passports, when she was able to register birth certificates and marriage certificates. And
So if you've got Romanian children born in Jersey, will they be immediately British because they're born here? Or?
if one of the parents is having more than 5 years in Jersey,
They are British automatically.
that's right. Yes.
Because this is another area which, whether we've got time to talk them all, I don't know. So those can be regularised as far as birth certificates, young children, and they would be signed and stamped. And what would they do with them if they want to? Because at what age do they have to have a passport for a child in Romania?
From day 0.
From day 0?
Yes.
Oh, really? Oh, so I see. Well, that is complicated, isn't it?
It is, because we had the lockdown, and we have Brexit, and in order to register for a settled to get a settled status or pre-settled status, if you are less than 5 years on the island, you need a document, an ID card or a travel document, which is a passport. For Romania, passport is a travel document. Few people couldn't apply for the settlement scheme just because of expired document. Children born from Romanian parents, so Romanian parents wanted their child to be a Romanian citizen as well, and our consul was able to register those birth certificates with our translator. We have a Romanian translator authorized by the Romanian embassy, which is called Alina Mihai. And
if you wanted to become British, which you can do, if you paid the money, £1,000 it cost you.
a bit more, yes.
A bit more. You could do that, but would that stop you being the honorary consul?
No.
No, you can be British, and because I noticed most of the other honorary consuls are not nationals of the countries they represent.
That's right.
Now, I don't know what the current French one is, because there's an advocate who is a sort of a consul, but there's also the woman who operated out of the Magasin de Normandie, or what do they call it? Now that's shut. And so anybody could be a consul if they're accepted by the country.
That's right, yes.
Okay. As far as you know, is it about I think it's about a dozen, isn't it? There are consulates. Is it more?
In Jersey?
Yes.
Could be. I know most of my colleagues, yes, from Jersey and UK.
Now, you get consulted from time to time by this Jersey government. As a group, all of you get invited, all the consuls are invited? Or just, yes?
Always, yes.
To discuss things like settled status, which is, one of those weird things, which isn't a Jersey brainwave, it's an English UK government imposition because of Brexit and all the rest of it. So if you haven't got settled status and you come from the European Union, What's the cut-off date if you're December? When?
The end of June this year, 2021.
So you have to have registered by now.
Yes.
And what happens if you haven't been registered? What is the potential to happen to people?
As far as by the law, people will be deported. Unfortunately, people will be deported by the law, yeah.
Now, on that, the settled status, you're supposed to declare convictions and things like that. Do you know anybody who's been refused because they have a conviction? Is that happened?
Not as far as I know.
I don't know how they check. I mean, I've got no idea who does the administration. But what I'm really concerned about with this, I mean, the 27 European nations are still in the EU. They're going to come out with a better deal than British people, is my thing. Now, I don't know why British people in Jersey haven't got to get a settled status. I don't quite understand that, but they don't. So the British people presumably will still be able to come to Jersey and travel under the common travel arrangements because if they're legally in Britain. Now, they can't go much further though, can they? They'll be in the same situation as any foreign person. If they want to travel to France or all these other countries, Romania, they'll have to get permission, won't they? They'll have to get visas and things.
That's right, yes. I remember when Romania wasn't in the European Union. I believe Romania joined in 2007. Right. Well, am I wrong? I might be wrong. Yeah, I mean, the agreement between UK, Jersey and the European Union need to be very careful. You draft it, and because otherwise, as a Jersey citizen or as a British citizen, you will need a visa to travel to France or to Spain or anywhere in. You might need a visa as a British citizen, yes, to live.
Right. That's right.
To leave United Kingdom.
And there will be all sorts of questions if somebody's got a house, a holiday home in France or Spain. Where are you domiciled? And do those questions arise for Romanians? Do they say, well, you've got family in Romania, where do you really live? Does that come up now? Does that ever ask?
It's the worst thing now is that you can't join your family. You can't. Because if I'm in Jersey before 31st of December 2020 and my children are in Romania and my children are adults and then they want to come to Jersey, they need a work permit and I can't have them next to me just for 9 months. And unfortunately, the law need to apply for everybody, and there's no balance between moral and law.
If a Romanian marries an Australian, I mean, there are so many countries in the world with different arrangements for different things. What does their status become if they're living in? There are Australians living in Jersey and working, so there's no reason at all why an Australian shouldn't marry a Romanian. What does their status become? Have you got any idea?
An Australian becoming a Romanian citizen?
Well, I don't know. What did
I don't know why.
And if they have children,
I mean, if you will have if you have a child after 31st of December 2020 and you are on a work permit, you need to leave the island with your child. You are not allowed. You are not granted a longer period of time if you weren't in Great Britain or Jersey before the 31st of December 2000.
Presumably in such scenarios, those people would have a possibility of becoming British. They could do that.
That's right.
But some countries don't allow you to have two nationalities, do they? You've got to be one or the other.
Well,
do these questions come up when your consul comes in from London? Did anybody ask these sort of questions?
No, not really, because it's better to be a Romanian citizen than a British citizen at these times, to be honest with you. So our consul came and answered questions in regards of Romanian legislation,
right.
not in regards of British legislation.
Because it worries me greatly, because we're looking to the future. Things are changing, and there are going to be Jersey work permit regulations, and there's going to be a 9-month rule, and there's going to be a 4-month rule, and according to that, people will have to leave the island. Now, I don't know why British people aren't going to be treated the same as Romanians under that rule. I do not know, but they're certainly going to have the power if Romanians come here to do temporary work, whatever it might be, for 9 months. At the end of 9 months, they'll have to leave. And presumably if the Australians were allowed in as well, they'd have to do the same. Why British people don't have to, I don't know. But is that sort of thing worrying to the Romanians here? The fact that they could,
It is, because some of, we are living a pandemic, and some of the Romanians been on the island before the 31st of December. And they want to come now, and they want to live, to build their life again in Jersey. And
right.
This, unfortunately, is not possible if they weren't in Jersey before the 31st of December 2020. If they've been 2 years before, or 3 years before, or 1 month, but now it's not possible. So yes, it is really worrying,
and you could have people in the same family with different status, can't you? That's going to be incredibly difficult. I mean, my mind won't go. I don't know how they'll sort some of the arrangements out.
You can't sort it out.
And obviously, where I'm leading with all this, we've just seen the fishing dispute with France, and we've just seen that helpful French shop, Normandy shop, closed down. Whereas absolutely the opposite ought to be happening. I think there ought to be a big centre opening so all nationalities can go and get reliable information, not just about Normandy or France, but about Europe, all different countries, and foreign countries as well. And this is information which British people need just as much as, so if you excuse me if I call you foreigners, foreign people. They all need information, and it has to be reliable. And people who want to have business arrangements with Romania, we're talking about Romania today, the British, whether they're locally based businesses or whatever, bearing in mind we're a finance centre, they might want to trade, they might just have a business registered here. It gets very, very complicated, doesn't it? And they need reliable information from somewhere, don't they?
Yes, but I don't know how many of my colleagues would like to offer their time completely for free.
No.
I mean, it's impossible to offer 100% from your time for an honorary position. We have honorary police, which they need to dedicate 3 hours per week. We dedicate at least 3 hours per day.
Right.
And we do things which we shouldn't, because it's not an honorary consul is the link between two states. It is nothing to do with housing Romanians, with setting up a mobile consulate, to finding jobs for them or answer to silly questions. But we do that,
Of course,
because we are human beings, and we've been there, and we can give them their support. And having an international, let's say, office will be ideal for Jersey. And from my point of view, we are the ones who are doing the job. We've been doing the job, and it's not going to be fair on us, other people, to offer the same services paid.
It's ironic, I would talk about Australia, but I see that Jersey claim, I don't know what they've done, but they've signed a trade deal with Australia. Now, inevitably, if there's a trade deal going on, a non-tariff trade deal, I think, so there's going to be movement of people from Australia to Jersey, potentially, whatever the businesses they're in. So it's looking to the future. Jersey has to find trading partners. They have to trade with the world. So all the nationalities that are already here, you'd think they'd be an asset, wouldn't you? They want to use their knowledge, use their contacts to build up trade. And that's why I think a central office would be essential to have, where people, obviously there is information here. You can go to Social Security, you can go to the immigration office, but you could spend a week just trying to find an answer to a simple question going around. It would, it's not that I want to make a career out of this, but it is something that there is going to be a great need for, isn't there?
I believe so, yes. And I hope my honorary consul's colleagues will support this, and the external affairs minister will support this. And I hope they will see the need. And it is not about Romanians, it's about us as a big community.
That's right.
And every single person is an asset.
Yeah.
Everybody's working to do their little part in society.
Well, as everybody knows, even though we're still under huge problems with the COVID, it's still, but the signs are all around town. You can see them. Staff wanted, So how the staff can get here now, from wherever they come from, I don't know.
French citizen, Polish, Portuguese, Romanians before Brexit was free to come to Jersey and find work. Hospitality and catering was open for people without 5 years qualification. But not now. And it's hard from the employer point of view. You are paying a visa. If the employer is paying a visa to a person who never been on trial and he doesn't know who he's hiring, it's hard for everybody. And in the end of the day, do I want to come for 9 months only?
Well, I don't. The practicalities, I don't know how they're going to work that.
If I fell in love and if I want to be with my lover, or if I want to get married, I need to get married in order to stay in Jersey.
Well, they've imported, I believe. I mean, I was in hospital last year, and there is Philippines nurses from the Philippines, and they're recruiting Philippines for other jobs. Filipinos, Nepal. They were on about. I don't know if they did. The Nepalese bringing in from all corners of the world, trying to recruit people to come here. But whoever they are, wherever they come from, 9 months, you want to establish a life, don't you? You want a proper life, like everybody expects, to have a decent house, somewhere to live, decent job, decent working conditions. These are normal aspirations for everybody, aren't they?
Yeah, I mean, I can't speak in anybody's name, but I would not like to come for 9 months. Because if I'm coming for 9 months, I can't come back only after 9 months.
Exactly.
So there's no insurance, and also if it means that as a human being I'm not valuable only for 9 months.
That's right.
But this is the way I've seen. Maybe I'm wrong, and everybody need to decide for their own. It's hard. I mean, Brexit didn't give us the freedom of movement.
Yeah.
And it's hard for us as European Union citizens. But it's going to be hard for British citizens, for Jersey, for Guernsey. Things will not stay like that. And I'm sorry to say that, but when people will discover, it will be too late because we don't do anything about it. I remember you, Mike, when you wanted to do something in regards of Brexit and you want to prepare us and nobody wanted to listen.
No.
So I hope people will listen now.
Well, they won't get me volunteering again, but I've done my bit, and you've obviously done your bit. Whether you volunteer again, that's entirely up to you, but Jersey definitely needs somebody to represent Romanian people. Anything else you want to tell me? I'm losing my voice a bit. I don't know why. I've been talking too much, I think, as usual. So, anything else?
That's it from me.
Okay. Very nice to speak to you, as always.